Good morning to you. Welcome to NTV Today, and the focus will be on business, specifically entrepreneurship, and we will have stakeholders within the industry to give us their views. From here in studio, we'll have a panel. We'll also have a panel in Eldoret, as well as some youth who, of course, are looking to join the job market. We'll be speaking to Bernard Ojwang from the streets in Migori. But first, we start with some very sad news, and former 400 meters hurdles world champion Nicholas Bett is dead. Bett died in a road accident in Nandi County this morning. The former world champion was driving alone when the accident occurred at 6:30 a.m. near Sochoi Girls School in Nandi County. The death was confirmed by Nandi Police Commander Patrick Wambani. Bett was part of Team Kenya that competed at the just concluded African Athletics Championships in Asaba, Nigeria, although he could not complete his race due to injury. Bett became the first Kenyan to win a world championship gold in the hurdles as part of the brilliant Kenya team that finished top of the table of the Beijing 2015 championships. Our condolences to the family of the late Nicholas Bett, and definitely a loss for the country and in the athletics field. We definitely mourn with you. We'll be giving you updates from Nandi as soon as we get them. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our focus today is entrepreneurship, and as much as we'll be having a conversation here in studio in a moment, we'd also be wanting to get a view from the youth in Migori on entrepreneurship and whether they feel that the environment is conducive for them to join the job market. Bernard Ojwang, I believe he is now ready to give us some of their views, to share those with us. Over to you, Bernard.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. We are here in Rongo town, whereby, remember, for a very long time after the completion of a course at the university, many youths prefer white-collar jobs, something that has rendered many of them jobless, as these companies require experience. And today's topic is the challenges that young entrepreneurs face while maybe after deciding that they want to be independent in terms of a job, in terms of employment. And we'll be talking to one of the upcoming entrepreneur here in Rongo, just to tell us the challenges that he has gone through. And to start with is this man here. You'll start with your name and tell us what are you doing here in Rongo?
Yep. I'm Duncan Okongo. I'm a businessman. I started my business in 2010 from campus. And I think given another opportunity, I would do business or business. I don't have an option again. I've faced challenges, but I've learned to grow with the challenges. The first main challenge I was facing, Ojwang, was power outages. It was very crazy. It would even go for 2 complete days. But I purchased a backup, and now I can work 8 hours after the power is out. That helped me a lot. Again, I devised a way so that when the power is out, I can make these tags, these guest tags, which I make in bulk and sell to the supermarkets at 15 shillings, which is highly affordable.
Many graduates, immediately after the course completion at the university, they prefer white-collar jobs. Why did you decide to go this way?
White-collar jobs, the time you take when you are looking for the job, you can do something. A rolling stone gathers no moss. Do something so that as the employment opportunity comes, it shall find when you have also gained some skill. Don't go raw. Waiting keeps you raw for a long time. Do something so that when the opportunity comes, you are mature for it.
When you from school, I don't think that whether you are financially okay. You started. Where did you get your capital to come up with this kind of business?
I borrowed 23,000 shillings, which I used to start up this business. So we were in that kibanda over there. and then I graduated to this place where I am still from 2013.
What were the challenges? Maybe before you borrowing the money.
It was difficult. I was engaged with some company. I was working for Radio Victoria, but they were paying so little. So living in Kisumu became a challenge. So I opted to come to Rongo and survey if there was a place where I could start something. So that is why I started Senders International, to start something that would give an example to the youth that it is possible to start and progress.
Getting loans, do you think these youths, they are able to get loans from these banks?
Loan they can get, but the conditions for getting loan, most youths cannot meet that. I can meet that now because I started early. But most youths, when they are starting, it's not easy to meet that up. Again, I would not encourage somebody to pick a loan to start up something. Start small, test it, let it grow, then borrow a loan to progress it. Yes.
Okay, you were saying that you used to be at Moi University. This is what you are doing there? You learned?
No. I did creative arts and I do movies also. So movies I do at my part-time, like now we are having auditions going on, which I'm headed to immediately. So I also do movies and drama. I write scripts. My script reached the provincial this year.
Okay, tell us, what do you do here in Rongo? What kind of business do you do? The kind of products you make?
We print. Printing is our main business. But now we also make these tags to conjure up so that we can also have some extensions. I also have M-Pesa business here so that the money I produce within rotates within.
Mark, before I get back to you, just give me, I talked to one person here. You've had done saying that getting a loan from this bank is another problem to many youths. What do you think should be done at least to help these youths?
Thank you. Anyway, I can say that getting a loan is very difficult to young entrepreneurs. And I can tell you frankly that if you go to a bank, the first thing they will ask you is for a guarantor. How far you have saved in that bank and what is the volume of your account. That is one thing they consider.
Well, thank you.
But then you find that to get to that level, it means you must have worked somewhere or you must have done some business to acquire such kind of money. So when you are looking for the money to start the business, at least you will need something you will invest in the housing and some products that you will be selling.
Thanks.
So for you to continue in the business, there must be a way out, how we are going to help the young people getting out of the schools in the universities, so that at least they get to start a business from somewhere.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Mark, you've just heard from them. I was talking to Duncan Okongo, one of the upcoming entrepreneur here in Rongo town. He's saying that he's really struggled a lot, at least to get the capital, and finally he borrowed to come up with this kind of initiative here. And he's advising many others to, instead of going for these white collar jobs, they should come up with their own. Back to you, Mark.
Some good perspective there from Migori. Thank you very much, Bernardo Juang. And we will be looking at some of the aspects that have been brought out in those views with the panel that is in studio with me, and we'll be getting to meet them in a moment, as well as that one that will be hosted by Lois Wangoi in Eldoret. But first, something else that will be happening today, that's from Parliament, and we'll be looking at the status on the signatures, being collected in terms of trying to impeach the Treasury CS Henry Rotich. As of yesterday, the update was that apparently there are 96 signatures that are already collected to impeach him, and this is out of what is needed, 120, I believe. So our very own Kennedy Mureithi is following up the status on this. Kennedy, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark Masai, there in studio. As you rightly said, is that yesterday the update that we got from the mover of that motion, that is Mheshimiwa Didmas Baraza, is that he had 96 signatures. But well, in this morning I have spoken to him on phone, and he says that he has 101 signatures. The threshold for you to submit this motion before the House is 120 signatures. I've been trying to get him to speak to us, but he has been dodgy because He's been giving me a date saying that I'm coming in 20 minutes, I'm coming in 20 minutes, yet we are here going live and he's not been able to get here to talk to us. But at this particular moment, when I got to Parliament, I've been able to get two members of Parliament who I want to discuss this matter with. One of them is supporting the motion. Probably he might have even signed that motion. The other one is not supporting. I want to walk into them and have a brief discussion so that we get to know what this is all about. You'll remember that this house has had a history of motions. The latest one that was actually one of the most followed by media is the one by Mithika Linturi when he was still in the National Assembly, when he tried to impeach the now Kirinyaga governor. And when he did that, he actually left so many people who were supporting him at the altar. It is like trying to get a woman and trying to marry them, but you leave them at the altar, and he fled. What is different about this? And we want to get views from members of Parliament. We have Sam Atandi, that is the member of Parliament for Alego Songa, and Richard Onyonka, the member of Parliament for Kitutu Chache. We'll start with you. Do you support this motion? And if you do, why do you?
I actually don't support the motion. The reason for that is very simple. This house is a house of rules. And I'll give you an example. The report has been done, the agriculture and trade and finance report. The report is supposed to be tabled, I believe. It was tabled on Thursday. It's supposed to be debated this afternoon. We have not debated it. And yet, members are jumping the gun. They're saying, get rid of Rotich. Number two, we have institutions in this country that deal with impropriety in governing this country. We don't have a report from Kenya Anti-Corruption. We don't have a report from the DCI. As far as I'm concerned, this is basically much ado about nothing. When you remember when Rinturi brought the motion where we were discussing Governor Waiguru, the speaker ruled, and he gave very clear, very insightful rules which need to be followed for you to impeach somebody. And as far as I'm concerned, we are actually wasting public time, we are wasting public money. My colleagues, maybe they don't understand the law in this house, but if they are going to talk about wanting to impeach Mheshimiwa, the CS for finance, I think for me, they are wasting their time.
Just before we go on to, you want to get your views. Do you support or don't you support this?
I support any initiative that would result in having Mr. Rotich out of Treasury, because Mr. Rotich, as you know, not only on the question of sugar, but basically the performance of the economy since Mr. Rotich took over has been wanting. If you want to talk about public debt, it's clearly responsible. So personally, as a member of Parliament, I always feel, and I've held this feeling, that we have a wrong person at Treasury. And if this motion, which is being worked on, can help us to get him out of that place, I think I'm behind that motion.
Well, you've had his view on this, and he actually says that it is not just about the sugar issue that has now come up, yes, but it is believed that we do not have the right person at the Treasury. He is a first-time member of Parliament, and you say probably they do not know the rules. What do you think of this?
I mean, this man, I love him. He's my brother, he's my friend. But I want to tell him, if he wants to impeach Rotich so that Rotich gets out of Treasury, he's wasting his time. The appointing authority is President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Every decision that Rotich has made would never be made without the approval of the president. So what Mr. Tandi is saying is that he actually had rather talk to President Uhuru and ask him to get rid of Mr. Rotich. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the backdoor approach to try and get rid of Mr. Rotich from his office. And yet, in reality, the sugar question in this country is much more complex. It is basically an event that is shameful in this country. We have not even touched a quarter of the issue about the sugar. Number one, let me give you an example. Rai imported 100,000 metric tons. There are people who imported 1.2 million metric tons, and yet nobody has discussed them. Nobody has raised that issue. When you look at the report which is coming out, you hear it's being watered down, the report is being doctored. This is not necessarily a matter that Rotich is held responsible. What we are saying is, let us deal with this matter legally. Let us come to this house and let us discuss the report. Finish with the report. Let the house vote. After the house has voted, if Rotich is found culpable, so be it.
Do you think that is the right move?
Let me talk about sugar importation. First of all, it must be known, Kenyans must know that the reason why we have this problem is because of Rotich. First of all, Rotich is the person who opened the window for every Tom and Dick and Harry to import sugar. We're talking about 2 million metric tons of sugar which has been imported, while the country only needed to import 138,000. This is something that Rotich must take blame for. Two, this is the same person who went ahead and refused to give guidelines, because there was a requirement that there should have been guidelines and supervision so that we ensure that what the sugar which is coming here is of high quality. And here we are linking Rotich directly to the Minister for for Trade, Adan Mohamed. And the report is very clear, because we know this was trading, and even in the committee we know that there are attempts to interfere with the report so that these individuals are not held accountable. We are saying as Parliament that we are going to amend that report, because we have seen the report clearly. The members are saying that when they did their report, they were very, very categorical that so and so and so must take blame. Rotich must take blame, the CS for Trade must take blame, and the former Minister for Agriculture must take blame. In the report here, the report is recommending that they should be investigated. We are saying that they should be fired, and that's the amendment which we are going to bring on the floor of the House, so that these people get out of the office.
Well, Mark, interestingly, we've been joined by Didmas himself, the mover of this motion, and we want to hear from him. How many signatures have you collected, and what are really the reasons why you want Rotich out?
As we speak now, I have 101 signatures. The signature that I had yesterday, and I'm happy even my good friend, Honorable Atandi, has appended his signature. And today I have gotten an addition of more signatures. And I'm sure, I'm confident that by the end of today, I will have acquired the requisite signatures. The reason why I want Rotich to go home are two. One, the Ruaraka land, he transferred 1.5 billion shillings to buy a land that never existed, and without getting the written request from the Ministry of Education. Two, on these matters of sugar, he signed a gazette notice that allowed for very many people to bring in sugar. And he ignored the advice from the Ministry of Agriculture that whatever was coming in was in excess and would hurt the sugar sector in this country. And if you look at the people who are suffering because of this contraband, this sugar coming in, our industries have collapsed. The Western economies of Kakamega, Bungoma, and the counties of Nyanza that largely depends on sugar, they have collapsed. The reason why they have collapsed is because of Henry Rotich, the current CS of Treasury, and we are saying he must go. And I want to take this to warn. We have some people who are in the National Assembly who hold some positions that they can use, that they can think they can use those positions to solicit for money to save civil servants that are the acts of the National Assembly is following of them. I'm telling them that their tricks have outlived their usefulness. They are not going to work, because I am determined to push this motion to the floor of the House. And I want to assure the 101 members who have signed my petition that I will never betray them. I will work with this petition on the floor of the House. If anybody wants to save Rotich, then it must be on the floor of the House, not anywhere around the corridors.
Well, just before I get back to you, Mark, I want to get from Mheshimiwa Onyonka, who has now heard the views from Didmas himself, and he has enumerated his reasons. Do you think there's still reason enough?
I don't believe so. One, I would like to tell my brother that many of us do not take positions in this house because we are given handouts or our rent is paid for. I would like to say that to pass aspersions on his colleagues is actually wrong, because there are also people who are saying that Didmas' group has been given money to fight Rotich because of a certain interest. Those things we know in this country, they happen both ways. What I'm saying is this: get rid of Rotich within the law. Bring the debate to the floor of the House. Bring the report of agriculture to the floor of the House. Let the House pass that report. Then after that, bring the motion which is saying, since you have been indicted, since you have been found culpable, we now don't think that you can hold public office. Don't do it the other way around. Don't do it the other way around. It looks vexatious, it looks vindictive, it looks like it has other reasons why you're fighting another war. All we are saying is, many of us, me particularly, let me say this, let us learn in this country to do things within the law.
Are you using this?
I am within the law. The report of Ruaraka land was already tabled on the floor of the House in the public domain. And I am not tabling this motion today, but I'm saying you begin by first collecting signatures, the support of members of parliament. That's what I'm doing now. And once they have attained the requisite signatures, I will table the motion. And I think the Honorable Nyonga should relax. Should relax and should not get worried. We are doing this within the context of the law. Within the confines of the standing orders. I am not tabling the motion today or tomorrow, but I've begun the process of collecting signatures. Now I have 101 members of parliament, including my good friend Honorable Atandi, who have appended this signature. By the way, Honorable Atandi is a very serious legislator in this country. He doesn't sign something that is not convinced we have serious grounds.
Thank you. We are strapped by time, but this is a conversation that we will really want to keep up with, because we do know that it is going to take center stage between today, tomorrow, and over the weekend, when members of parliament will be retreating to their different constituencies. Probably it will be the subject of discussion at the rallies that they will be having, and we'll be keeping a tabs on this. They have given their views on why they should and why they should not, but it is an interesting topic that we will really want to keep tabs on. Now back to you, Mark, in studio.
Interesting does not begin to define it if the heat that was picking up there is anything to go by, but hopefully the debate will end up with handshakes and smiles as it has there. Thank you very much, Kennedy Muredi from Bunge, and we'll be getting an update on that. Well, at least Bwana the Kimilili Member of Parliament, Didmas, says that they've gotten to 101 signatures and they need 19 more if the third requirement of signatures is anything to go by. We'll see how that goes and confirm the numbers in terms of the signatures that he claims to have already collected. Something else that's going on today is the demolition of buildings that have been constructed on riparian land, and NEMA has been on this campaign this week. This is a third day, and today the main focus is at South End Mall in Nairobi, and this is along Langata Road, and Silas Apollo is following up on this particular development, and it's definitely going to get a lot of reactions. 2 billion shillings worth of mall, but people say it's probably worth it given the effect it has when it rains and floods and affecting South Sea and the Nairobi West area. Over to you, Silas.
Yes, Mark, we're here at the South End Mall on Langata Road, where demolitions began at about a few minutes past 6 a.m. in the morning, of course on the order of the National Environmental Management Authority, which says that the building has been built on a riparian land. It's part of their campaigns to reclaim about 4,000 houses, 4,000 buildings that they say have been built on riparian land, and as a result has affected the flow of a number of rivers in Nairobi, including the Nairobi River. And so as a result, today the bulldozers descended here, and as you can see, there's a number of buildings that have been, a number of structures that have been brought down. Of course, residents, people living around here, and even tenants are, of course, trying to salvage some of their properties before the building is finally brought down. If you look at the other side, part of that building has already been brought down. We spoke to some of the tenants, of course, and as usual, claiming that they have not been given notice, something that NEMA has disputed, saying they'd given a 3-month notice to tenants and even the owners of the building, so that they're given time to demolish the building. The argument by NEMA is that this building has been one of the, it has a lot of legal battles that have been there in the building, in terms of, there have been quite a number of legal battles dating back to the tenure of Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, who had objected the construction of this building, but of course the owner went by. So we'll be keeping you updated to see exactly what has been happening, but we believe that by the end of the day, we'll be having more conclusive report on exactly what has been done. Back to you, Mark.
Silas Apollo, thank you very much for that update from the South End Mall. Definitely getting more reactions on this, and the campaign will definitely continue. As you say, there have been a number of buildings earmarked for demolition because they've been built on riparian land, and NEMA is leading this campaign and getting a lot of support from the public. There has been a lot of hue and cry over this. Something else that is happening in the city and is affecting now the transport sector, and Victor Ngaruya has been following up on the impending ban on matatus entering CBD, reducing the number of matatus entering the CBD, and he now joins us with an update to see if this has been implemented or the reactions that we're getting from the stakeholders. Ngaruya?
Thank you very much, Mark Masai. I am here at Odeon Cinema Stage, and joining me right now is the managers of the Sacco Stage, who will be giving me an insight of how they have been coping with the directive where only 2 matatus per Sacco per route are supposed to be picking passengers within a span of only 5 minutes, and if they don't comply, they will be arrested and their vehicles impounded. Now, join me right here, the manager of it's Lofa Travelers. Yeah. So tell me, in terms of numbers, how are you coping with the directive? Has it affected you business-wise?
Lazima itatu affect juu ya mambo kama venye wanatuambia gari mbili kwa stage haiwezi juu wacha tunjengea stage kubwa mahali tunaweza onyesha peleka gari zetu. Sasa hizo gari haziwezi kuwa ati zinakuja mbili juu hakuna mahali ya kupaki hizo zingine. Juu sasa wangekuwa wametutengenezea stage ati tuitange mbili, hiyo inaweza, lakini sasa hii Nairobi ni ndogo na hakuna mahali pengine pa kupaka.
Is it true that some owners have over 100 vehicles? And if it's true, how are they coping with that directive?
Okay, yenyewe kama sisi tuko na basi 100 na Nissan 400. Na sasa kwa hizo Nissan 400 na basi 100 haiwezi juu sasa kama mimi gari 100 lazima zingine nazipark pale juu hapa kwa streets. Ndio naita pale juu ninaekanga 4 na hapa 2. So zinakujanga 6 peke yake. Hizo zingine tunazipaka Ngara. So tukiambiwa 2 kuna venye haziwezi toshea Nairobi. Tena tukiambiwa story ati ya dakika 5 kwa gari, hakuna gari inaweza kuwa imejaa na dakika 5, labda rasha wa peke yake. So hiyo haiwezi.
So according to you, where are the other vehicles going to go?
Hiyo hata sisi tunashindwa. Juu hatujui saa zinaweza pelekwa wapi. Juu hizo zingine sababu labda zikuange zinaamkanga ati gari 6. Hizo zingine zinaekwa parking gari 6 kwa siku. Hiyo haiwezi. Hizo gari zingine mpaka hata sisi unajua hiyo ni kama kutufuta kazi tu. Juu gari ikiambiwa ati dakika 5 ikae, na sisi watu kama wa stage sisi tunakulanga ikijaa ndio tunajangagwa. Saa unaona haiwezi kuruja ati dakika 5 hakuna mtu atakuwa ameingia kama saa hii.
Are there other stages or terminals that are outside the CBD where you can park your vehicles?
Hakuna. Kama Ngara inakuanga imejaa. Tukienda Ngara ndio stage 2. Grobu unajua si stage huko chini. Tuna parking huko tu, na ukipark huko bado huko safe juu huko ndio unajua ni area machokora. So unajua sasa hata ukipaka Ngara Groba huko safe. Hizi gari zinakuanga na vitu zinaweza ibiwa. Kuna jack, kuna speakers, kuna TV, kuna nini, hata miguu wanaweza ngoa. So unaona kupeleka group bado hatukuangi safe ama secured.
That is the situation right here, Mark Masai. They have been left in the air because they don't know what they are supposed to do with the other vehicles. If only 2 vehicles, 2 matatus are the ones that are supposed to pick up passengers within a span of only 5 minutes. Now back to you, Mark Masai.
We've seen the resistance that has been met with any new rule to curb the entrance of matatus within the CBD. So it'll be interesting to see how this will develop and indeed if it will be implemented or if there will be some hitches on that. Victor Ngaruya will be giving us an update on that, sampling more views from the stakeholders and those implementing the new rules. And over back to Parliament buildings, where there's something else important that's going to be discussed today, debated today, and that is the tabling of the sugar report. And we are, of course, expecting a lot of heated debate. You saw what was happening there earlier with Kennedy Mureithi talking to the Kimilili Member of Parliament, who one of the main reasons he wants the CS Treasury to be impeached is based on what he feels is his blame over the sugar scandal, where there's a report that is expected this afternoon. The ones that have been given preliminary or developing reports have been very disappointing, to say the least. So hopefully there will be some form of closure or answers with what will be presented in Parliament today. Over to you, Seth.
Well, thank you so much, Mark Masai. As you mentioned it, the sugar report that is supposed to give an in-depth, or rather to disclose what happened in a span of 2 months when the Joint Parliamentary Committee has been investigating this particular issue. What happened to the sugar that was imported? Why was it imported in bulk? Why is there an excess right now in the country? Why is that sugar, some of it contraband, and why is part of that sugar contaminated as well? This is going to be a report that has been waited upon by parliamentarians. It's going to be actually debated this afternoon, and even someone to tell us what to expect is the Vice Chairman for the Agriculture Committee in the National Assembly, and also the Navajo Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Wangwe, now joining us live on NTV. Emmanuel, just tell us what to expect when the debate is going to start here in the National Assembly main chambers.
Thank you, Seth. We expect to see the reality, answering all those questions you've asked. What happened? Who brought in this sugar? How did it come in? And how was it cleared at the port of Mombasa? Why is it that it's contaminated? And is it true that it's contaminated? So all those questions will be answered in the report without necessarily citing the specifics of how it is itemized in line with our standing orders. I would want to go deeper into that.
You don't want to go deeper into the standing orders, but what you know, there has been a lot of sideshows and there's a lot of expectations when it comes to this particular report. There has been a lot of lobbying, we are told. Some members have even threatened to reject it altogether in its entirety, and there are a lot of issues. There were recommendations that were suggested to be included in the report. There were allegations this is not the final draft that members agreed upon, and now had the attention of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi. Despite all this, do you have confidence that the report that you yourself is a member in will actually pass the test in Parliament today? Will it be adopted or not?
Thank you, Seth. I would want to say that we belong to the political class. This is not a religious organization where we will have to respect the rule of law to the latter. We must argue against each other and in favor of what we have so that we make a decision jointly. But once the decision is made, you go as per the decision. Therefore, I don't find anything wrong in members of Parliament having dissenting voices outside Parliament until when the report is debated. But immediately we debate the report on the floor, the decision shall be binding to all of us. So it is very normal in what's happening. But what the confidence I have is I'm wishing my colleagues will support that report so that we now bring to an end the expose that is there. We let the Kenyans know exactly what happened, where and how. All those questions are inside, and it will be good that the report is adopted, and any government officer, to whatever extent, who was affected is disciplined in that report. And we expect also immediately we approve it and adopt it, let the relevant institutions which are mandated by the Constitution of Kenya move in and apprehend anybody. We've recommended so much as per the report without really citing specifics, which is in the report.
Any likelihood it will be debated today in the first place? It's number 12 in the order paper. That should be later on in the evening. But do you have any hope it will be debated today?
Whether it is late, however late, what I know is that it's a prerogative of House Business Committee to plan. And I'm a member of a different committee, so I have to respect the decision of House Business on how to align the order paper. But my conscience tells me it will be debated later in the afternoon. If not today, we might commence today and sum it up tomorrow. So we have today and tomorrow, which I look forward to seeing it happening.
Even as we wind up, just tell us what to expect in a scenario where it is adopted, in a scenario where it is rejected, and in a scenario where members amend on the floor the document. What next? What is the threshold for it to be adopted and vice versa?
What begins is the amendment. We expect any member with a different view to bring the amendment. We adopt the amendment, and then we now debate as amended. And once we debate as amended, it's now going to be voted. And once the speaker rules that it has the yes or the nay have had the day, if it is yes, relevant agencies move in immediately. And we see institutions like the Office of the DCI, Office of the DPP, ESCC will move in to correct the situation. The banning of the sugar that could be is recommended there. We'll see the institutions that are mandated to do that happening. So in the event the report passes, that will happen. In the event the report doesn't, it's not a bill. If it was a bill, it would go for 6 months. But since it's a committee report, it is now upon the speaker to make a ruling as into when can we revisit in the first instance. Number two, any member can bring it even tomorrow in another version, and then it can still be investigated. So those are the two scenarios.
Finally, before I hand over the program back to studio, a 62-page document. The preliminary report was rejected upon presentation. This is the final draft, 62-page document. Do you believe that it has answers to all the intrigues and all the questions both Kenyans and any other person's concerns raised in terms of the sugar saga in the country?
Thank you, Seth. I believe this is the right document. And first and foremost, let me clarify, Seth, that was a progress report. A progress report was just to highlight the situation. By that time, what we had and what we did not have, and what we were forecasting to see, it was not conclusive. But this report is purely conclusive. It talks of the really issues as they are and as they happened. So I have the confidence, and I want to ask Kenyans to watch us. Watch any member on the floor today who will be discussing the issues that we have in the report. Let him see the difference between a farmer and somebody who wants to do business. Let him see the difference between supporting whoever voted for you and just being a member of parliament for the sake of being in this house. So I feel the situation will come out today in black and white for Kenyans. But Seth, before we finish, now that you have given 1 minute, I also want to use this chance, Seth, to pass my message of condolence to my very greatest Kenyan and constituent who was shot dead by the police day before yesterday in cold blood. The police were in my constituency. They were in a place called Matoi, and they so happened to, I would want to say, in a very unclear circumstance, they shot dead one man by the name Francis Karakacha Wekesa at a place called Matoi. This is a scenario which I want to say, Paul, to my constituents. We have taken up the issue with the police. Myself, I met the Minister for Interior this morning, and he has assured me he will not let that policeman who was involved in this instance to go scot-free. He will have to face the full force of the law. He will have to do what is within his mandate as the Minister for Interior to make sure that peace is remained in Navaholo. We have been peace-loving Kenyans, and there was no reason to warrant a police officer to aim at a local person who was unarmed. He was just from the chemist, but just because he could not, we cannot explain what happened. We leave it to the minister the way he talked, and I want to tell my colleagues and my people that remain calm. We are in control, and I'm been assured by the Minister for Interior this morning that he's on top of that issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is Emmanuel Wangwe, the Vice Chairman of the Agriculture Committee in the National Assembly, and also part of the part of the Joint Parliamentary Committee that has compiled the sugar report that is expected to be debated in the main chambers today, and what we're expecting is nothing else but a showdown when that particular document will be presented, none other but the chairman of the Joint Parliamentary Committee and Kenny MP Kanini Kega this afternoon. What we know is that the document, or rather the report, will either be adopted, that is accepted, or rejected. Whichever way it goes, NTV will highlight to viewers in our bulletins what happened here in the main chambers and whether or not we'll finally have the report on the sugar crisis in the country, Mark.
Setolade, thank you very much. This is a story you've been following keenly. We'll see if we'll have a sweet or sour report presented in Parliament. One Emmanuel Wangwe being a bit shielded there in his expectations, but we definitely want answers. Heck, I know people who've stopped consuming sugar based on even a report you did earlier on how it is handled at the depot. So definitely Kenyans are waiting for those answers. Setolale, you'll be giving us the highlights of that debate on the report this afternoon from Parliament. And as you can see on your screen, flashing just under there, the news just in is Daudi Nzomo, the man who was captured last week beating his wife, assaulting his wife, has been handed a 12-year sentence. And yes, he was arrested just a week ago, and he had admitted or pleaded guilty to causing grievous harm to his wife, Winifred Mwende. And Sharon Baranga is following up on this story to give us the context and as well as the conclusion of it and more details in our subsequent bulletins. As I've said, following all these developments in this 1 hour or first hour of NTV Today is a panel of gentlemen and lady who want to speak about entrepreneurship from their standpoint. And I have next to me John Orindi. He is the Director of Corporate Affairs at the University of Nairobi. And next to him is Liz Bwibo. She is a dental surgeon, but as well as an entrepreneur with a Panacea Medical Company. She'll tell us a bit more about that. And next to her is Paul Bogwa. He is from the Eclectics International, dealing in IT solutions. You'll tell us a bit more about that and what your hopes would be for the entrepreneurship environment in Kenya. And next to him, last but not least, is Arnold Anampio. He is a University of Nairobi student doing surveying in his third year. Thank you for being patient following the developments of the day. And let's listen into what our colleague in Eldoret, that is Lois Wangoi, has to say with her panel still on entrepreneurship. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you very much, Mark Masai, and indeed, good morning to you, dear viewer. We follow with the same conversation on matters on entrepreneurship with a special focus on the youth and business. And with me in studio, I have two guests to help me talk and dissect this topic further. Right next to me is Mr. Hezekiah Kosgei, a businessman who specializes in matters petroleum. And next to him, Sam Mugo, yet another businessman who is in the world of construction. Karibu sana, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on NTV. We talk about entrepreneurship today with a special focus on the youth and business. So I want to start you off with a very basic question. Why is it that most of our youth, Mr. Hezekiah, if I could start with you, most of our youth prefer to be employed rather than to begin their own startups or venture into the world of business?
Thank you, Lois, for having me today. To take from our education, what has been inculcated in our youth is that once you finish schooling, once you clear with your university tertiary education, you go straight into employment. The ideal lifestyle that our youth look at today is earning a salary at the end of the month. And it is the easiest way out. It's not tedious. I mean, you do not have to invest anything. You just, once you have your certificate, run up and down a bit, get a tall relative, get yourself in employment, you're good to go. So most youth would rather get employed than go out there, venture, start from a scratch, put up a business, scale it up to a growth level that would earn him something. So in most instances, the mindset that we have is that earning money at the end of the month is easy.
It's easier. So it's an easier option for many of them.
Exactly.
I want to bring you in, Samugo. Earlier on, you told me you started business at a young age, and I believe you're still within the youth bracket.
Yes.
Is it very difficult to start a business and to run it as a young person in this country?
It's about the mentality, how you think and how you take things. As my friend has said, our education system give us another thing that when you put it practically, it's not applicable. So to our young people, the education system has spoiled our minds and what we think. So it's not hard to start a business, but the way people think and the way people put things and talk, it really brings young people into confusion, because they're told you need to have a big capital to start a business. Secondly, you need to be stable for you to sustain a business. So for young people, they get confused and they rather choose to be employed rather than to put businesses.
Okay.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the structures that surround our young persons. For instance, our education policies, parents and guardians, and what we feed into our young persons when it comes to business. I remember when we were growing up, there was a song that used to play on radio. So many vijana baada ya kusoma mtapata kazi nzuri sana. I don't know if you remember that song.
It used to play every morning.
Yes. Does it mean that what we feed into our young persons is that please go to school, get your good grades, and you'll get a very big job? And so our young people don't consider business startups as opportunities in which they could express their careers.
Exactly. If you look at what 844 was meant to achieve in this country, we actually borrowed it heavily from the Canadian system of education, where we are supposed to inculcate skills in our youth, in our current generation. However, we didn't have the facilities to go with that. We didn't have the know-how to go with that. At the end of it, you are taken half-half. You come out of an education system half-baked. So the only thing that you think of is because I was to go to Akarakana, if you remember the workshops, but I didn't learn fully how to do this.
Yes.
So at the end of it, what do I do with what I have? I have to look for employment. I must be employed. So by and large, I agree. Our education system has been a big letdown in the entrepreneurship world. And to tell you, Lois, today, it is so unfortunate that in Kenya we are yet to get it right in our education system. The economy of the world as it is today is driven by entrepreneurship. It started with, if you remember, the agrarian revolution, industrialization. We came to the information and technology age. Currently, we are at entrepreneurship. Look at China, which is an entrepreneurial community. They are running short all over the world because their youth are inculcated into business at an early stage. It is high time that our education system turns around. We need what we call a paradigm shift in our thoughts and attitudes, so that at the end of it, we come back to entrepreneurship, which is the current driver.
Very true. And the other true thing is we do have a number of young persons or youth engaging in business and really putting in their best foot forward to try and establish themselves in various businesses. But I will ask you, Sam, from where you're seated as a young person in business, do you think our youth have the right ingredients when it comes to business? For instance, patience and all these other things that are needed in the world of business?
Yeah, what I can say, first, our young people lack role models, they lack mentors, people who will show them the way. And because they lack a person who will show them the way, they just come up to do things the way they know and things they know the way they just think. So one, we lack to give our young people role model. They don't have a person they can emulate. As much as we are taught in our communities and in our families that we come from, we need to have those ingredients like patience. As much as you start something, it's not definitely that it will start to give you profit at that moment. But the way our life and the way our communities are, our young people are taught that when you start a business today, you need to be getting profit from it immediately. So it's something that hinders our young people to start business. The moment they start a business, like 1 month, 2 months, they give up because the way they were taught you need to get profit at the end of the day. And if you don't get profit, our young people are destroyed because they will not get profit, and then they quit that business. Then they rather see it's good to be employed, because at the end of the month they will get something.
But in their defense, Mr. Hezekiah, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, a young person might argue, even as they want to practice patience and to wait for their startups to start paying up, then they have immediate needs. For instance, they need to pay their rent, they need to provide, they need to put food on the table. So it's such a delicate balance. How can a young person who's watching handle that challenge?
Lois, most of these young people, if they take that route, have been dishonest. Reason being, most of them are still housed by their parents. In fact, if you look at the large population of our youth trying to venture into business, these are people who've just cleared school, you know, by and large universities or any skill-based college. So in most instances, they're still being housed. They really don't need that, upkeep money, as they want to put it. My view would be different, and I have realized this to be a fact. Most of these young people lack capital. They lack access to capital to venture into businesses. Yes, Kenya, policy-wise, we're doing very well on that. We have the youth fund and the rest, but by and large, it remains on paper. Most of the youth lack access to these funds. They don't even have the know-how of how to access these funds. And the little that have accessed this, they set up their businesses, and as my friend Sam rightly put, most of them lack patience to see it through. Reason being, they venture into business not because they have a mission and a vision for the same business. They just see what someone has done and succeeded, and they just want to help that person. But to venture and succeed in business, first and foremost, what are the core values that are driving you? What is your mission? What is your vision? Once you have that in place, what is your solid business plan that you have? Once you have that, where is your capital coming from? And you know, capital comes in various forms. Apart from money, you know, most people believe capital must be cash, but you have equity funding, you know, equity capital. Once you have your capital, and where most of the youth go wrong is they want to go it solo. It pays at times to even have a partner on board, someone who has the resources.
To help raise the resources?
Exactly. And then look at this. Once you have that capital, do you spend it for working capital? Is it an investment venture capital? Once you have that, do you have enough to sustain you? And once you have, you know, the cyclical expenses, the working capital, what is in store for growth capital? Where most businesses fail is when they make money, the youth make money out of these businesses. The first 3-6 months, they don't spare anything. They end up spending that. They want to live a given lifestyle. They want to drive a car. They want to move out of their homes and now have a good house. At the end of the day, they don't keep anything for the business. They need to keep something called growth capital. Yes, growth capital. If you do not have that to expand your business to the next level,
then it becomes a challenge. And let us talk about the nature of the businesses that the youth would want to venture in. But of course, they have some challenges, whether it's technical, manpower, or even capital. For instance, Ms. Samson Mugo, you're in construction. Hezekiah Kosgei is in petroleum. Such ventures, I want to believe, require a bit of infrastructure, whether money-wise or even when it comes to the know-how of doing it. So are there some ventures which are proving too difficult or too big for our youth to step in?
Okay, one, we are told here about the capital that a young person needed to have because before they start any business. Most of the businesses that we have, as my friend has put it, it's not about the amount of capital. It's the way you've planned yourself, the business plan that you have, the nature and the kind of business that you want to start. There's something that I need maybe to talk about on how to get this capital. As much as we have houses that where we can lend money, where we can get money, like we have banks, we have other financial institutions, but as much as we need small money or small capital, but at the same time, there are some of the things that when you want to lend money, there are some of the obstacles that they put. Like maybe a young person, you are 30, you are asked for a title deed. You are 30, you are asked for maybe a logbook. You are asked for a 10 10 years experience, and you're a young person. You see, these are the things that they bring hindrances to the young people.
Or even a bank statement, a 6 months
You ask for a 6 month business
operations.
statement, and at the same time you don't have a business. So I think we need to help these young people. Immediately they are out of school, the moment they want to engage into even small businesses, we need to guide them, because some business that we are running, they're very expensive, they're too expensive. They need a big capital intensive. So we need to have these young people to put the businesses plan they have, to put it down. Which amount of capital do you need? So we need to show them the way.
And Mr. Hezekiah, to bring you in,
Right.
could this be the reason why we're seeing youth startups venturing into more of the art world, where you will see many of our youth persons engaging, let's say, in the music industry, and we're here judging them, we are saying, oh, these young people, they need to get more serious with their lives. But that small music video is pretty much what they can afford, or what they have know-how on. These infrastructural challenges, how can we break them down?
To concur with you, to a large extent, youth would want to venture into businesses that are talent-based, something they can easily, derive out of themselves, as opposed to seeking for capital that would enable them venture into business. There is a disconnect between governmental policies and what happens, the actual happenstance on the ground. I think going forth as a country, we need to have a critical look, take a critical look into how to mitigate some of these ailments that bedeck the youth into venturing into businesses. For example, you have a youth fund, it is well structured, but how do you have that trickle down effect to the ground? How do you have that impact right at the grassroots? If it is so well on paper in Nairobi, it comes to the county level and it dies there. You're not making headway. So as a country, we need to look into the nitty-gritty of how best do we trickle this down. And the best way is to have the youth on board. You have a youth fund being chaired by a 60-year-old man.
They
How would
become
you
a
expect them?
challenge.
How do you expect them to understand
And
the
I want to bring you in some very briefly before we take a break.
Right.
There's this notion among some of our youth persons that business is for the old, such that one will get into employment, then when one approaches the age of 48 to 52, then they will quickly start looking into some exit plan, which majorly is business as a retirement package. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, business, you cannot say that a business is an exit to life, because everything rotates around business. Everything we're doing, it's business. Even if a young person is employed in a certain institution, definitely that is institution is in business. So what we need to do is just to remove this mentality that a business it's the last option. Is when you're growing old, is when you're entering into business. It's not supposed to be, because once a young person is maybe 30, is very energetic. He can move, he can run up and down. He can do a lot of things. He got the energy. So it's important for a young person to put that energy into that business so that he can produce.
And as we wind up, Mr. Kosgei, government policies, are they strong enough to support our youth? Like you mentioned, a good example is the youth fund.
The youth fund. As it is now, as I said, they're good on paper. Fully implemented, they're good. You look at what happens is we have funds in place, but in most instances, these funds are returned back to the treasury for lack of usage. They are brought to the county level, but the youth are not able to access this. One thing my brother Sam mentioned before was how to access this. There are so many bureaucratic steps for one to access this. You are required to, meet these criteria.
Have an existing business, and the main reason why you're borrowing is to start up something.
And then again, the knowledge, the know-how that is supposed to go hand in hand with this kind of dispensement. I know of certain groups that were given money and they ended splitting the money.
Thank you. My guests are Hezekiah Kosgei and Samson Mugo, business persons from here, Eldoret in the county of Uasin Gishu, putting matters entrepreneurship into perspective. For now, NTV Today takes a short break, but don't go away. My colleague Mark Masai will be coming back with more on this topic on NTV Today. Thank you.
jina la Yesu litafika everywhere. Unadansia Yesu, gwara gwara, gwara gwara, gwara gwara, gwara gwara. Hakuna kama Yesu, gwara gwara, gwara.
Nasikia unidai, nasikia amina unidai, uko juu sana, nasikia unijidai, wendo rapi, utaitwa sema sahi, wewe ni fala, ono mesleki, wewe mjanja, wewe rapa feki.
Shake your bum bum, bum bum, shake your bum 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 bum. Giddy 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 go down, giddy 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 go down, giddy 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 giddy.
Basi hapa ndipo na ndipo hapa. Kwa majina wanaita Trevor O. NTV mambo yote.
She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na mimi sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda kambali.
This is the headquarters of wit in Africa.
I love this guy.
The hub where humor meets sense.
Wewe unatumiaga tu hiyo lines, unanilike na mimi nakulike.
So
kwa Mrs. Kingori.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. Kingori, an expert in the best medicine.
Listening to his solution if you crossed him in church.
Nikienda kanisa mtu alitukane, hakuna kugoja. Huko tuko kanisa huko.
Surely! Laughter served in the right dosage for the whole country.
Onda kitam. Nipe tikiti.
The Wicked Edition every Friday from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV.
Kumbe material ya sofa set inaweza shona suti mzuri hivyo. Ndio venye ulikula kula school fees.
Mimi nikidate dem msura mbaya huwa si mind. Najua ni vile hajamaliza kurevo.
Mtu alichukua soli ya sharpshooter akashonelea ngozi ya Timberland. Sasa sharpshooter na Timberland utaita aje? Shooterland.
Ulimfanyia nini? Best yangu alimshika na nyuma nikatafuna pilipili nikamlamba macho.
Kuna watu wenye matatu zao wamechora cross. Tuko nianzia kwa mlango ya driver, kuingia ya abiria wa mwisho.
Na unafili ni moment yako. Sema ona hii mtoto.
Elimu daima ni mabadiliko. NTV jioni inazidi kuimarika, lakini ubora ni ule ule. Mimi ni Daniel Mule na NTV imepata nuru mpya.
Mimi ni Nora Zinazi, tutaendelea kukuletea habari za utendeti hapa na pale.
Welcome back to NTV Today, and now we can engage our panel in studio. Thank you for your patience and waiting on to give your views, because these are stakeholders, representatives from different angles that you can expect in terms of churning out people to the market. And patience is a virtue in entrepreneurship, and I can say you have aced that, so you're looking good for the market. Thank you for joining us. As I introduced you earlier, John Orindi, the Director of Corporate Communications at the University of Nairobi. You'll speak for the institutions in terms of getting people ready for the market. And we have next to him Liz Bwibo. She is a dentist by profession, but also has taken up her own business, Panacea Medical Company. You'll tell us a bit more about that and in terms of the challenges in putting this up. And Mr. Paul Mbogwa, the CEO and founder of Eclectics International for IT Solutions. You'll tell us a bit more about that and your experience, and share some, especially for the generation that's coming up, such as Arnold Anampio, who is a student at the University of Nairobi pursuing surveying. I'm not sure if that's what you'll pursue in the years after, or if it's something your parents have told you to do, but you'll tell us a bit more about that. But you've followed the conversation from the panel in Eldoret. A lot has been said about credit. But first of all, let me start with you, being a representative of the tertiary level education, is there too much focus on white-collar jobs in terms of getting people to get to university so that they can get an opportunity to get into the job market?
Thank you, Mark, for welcoming us here.
Karibu.
And it's glad to be here. Welcome, viewers. Well, let me start from the point that it is true that there is too much focus. The training that we give to our people initially, many years back, had been too much focused on securing jobs. But I think with the current environment that we are in, we have reviewed our curriculum in order to be competitive enough, produce graduates that are job ready, and also the youth that can also be able to adapt to the market.
But it doesn't just stop at that, Bwana Orindi, because I'll take, for example, Liz Buibo, who's next to you. You pursued dentistry at? University of Nairobi, your institution as well, and she's completed her studies and is ready for the market, but the market seems not to be ready for her. You finished, but you're not working as a dentist as of now.
No, I finished my degree in 2016.
Okay.
I went into 1 year of internship in Kenyatta National Hospital, which I just completed this year of May.
All right.
However, we don't have posting, which we previously had from the Ministry of Health, where they identified shortages, and together with the board, they helped to post doctors in areas where they felt there were not enough.
Okay.
So this helped to bring the doctors more to the community. However, right now, since there's unemployment, we are more in urban areas because we're looking for employment in private facilities.
Yes.
So this is really unfortunate because we're not meeting what we were trained to do. We're meant to be doctors in the communities to give back, but since we're not employed, we're not being deployed, we're just in urban centers, which actually goes against what we're trying to achieve with.
So it doesn't quite stop it at what Bwana John was saying, you know, just preparing people for the job market who are ready to pursue their careers.
Yes, definitely not.
Okay, so where's the missing link? Is it the institutions, or is it just the market?
I feel the missing link is that the universities need to identify our employers and engage them more actively.
Okay.
By this I mean, let's use the previous model we had in doctors. The universities had a very good relationship with the ministry, whereas immediately we finished our internship, we'd be handed over to the ministry, after which we'll do internship, and the ministry will now permanently deploy us to various areas of the counties. So this setup needs to also come about in different areas. Like in journalism, I feel we can have a more close partnership with media houses. So let's say my alumni, University of Nairobi, has a good partnership with, say, Nation TV.
And it does.
Then, of course, they immediately after our graduates finish, they can come for internships, and after internship, they can get a more solid career progression in Nation TV and around because of the relationship that has been established.
And I'm getting to you, gentlemen, in a bit, just to have you respond to what she's brought up, that, you know, introduction or, you know, transition to the job market. Are we lagging as institutions? That is, for instance, UON, and I know you work for the corporate affairs, so you're paid to speak well of the UN, but can you admit to, you know, some form of laxity in introducing your very own students and graduates to the job market?
Not really. I don't think we are lagging in terms of imparting the necessary skills.
Okay. But introducing them, you know, kind of having a soft landing for them.
Soft landing for them. You know, basically what we do is to train a wide variety of impart knowledge to various people. First of all, we give them basic skills to survive in society and also to serve the society. So this will either train you to be going to ready for employment or to be an entrepreneur. And there are various factors that contribute to a person getting out of the university and achieving their career goals, making to their dreams.
Okay.
It takes both the training that we have given, it also takes both the policy environment that we have created as a country, and also it takes the effort of an individual to achieve their career goal. So there are three different factors that put into play. And I'm glad for her sake, she has acquired the basic skills in dentistry, you've noticed. And then without necessarily, because there is a shortage in the job market, now she has ventured into entrepreneurship.
And she'll tell us a bit more about that.
About entrepreneurship.
Yes,
and I think there's a weak link which we are now trying to close up.
Which is?
The partnership between the market, the industry, and the training was a little bit weak. And we need now to close that gap on skills training. What the industry require, what do the industry require us to train on? We need to have that so that we bridge that gap. We need to have a conversation with the industry. We need to have a conversation with the government so that we create an enabling environment for the youth to go out there and be ready for the job market and also to get the business, to succeed in the business that they want to achieve.
And Liz, you'll tell us a bit, Panacea Medical Company. But first, Paul Bogwa, I'm sure you've gone through an institution where you got your skills as an IT expert and now hence the founder of Eclectics International. But there's a word, entrepreneur, and there's this notion that it's not directly, it's for those who are just doing business, and it's not directly linked to the institutions that train people to get skills. And then, of course, right now there's a tenderpreneur, which has given it a wrong connotation. But is there a direct relationship for you in terms of the strength of institutions and the strength of the market in terms of the entrepreneurs that are now getting out there? Because it seems those who have some form of capital, gain some capital, are the ones who then become entrepreneurs, regardless what course they pursued.
Well, Mark, it's a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for the invitation. I think that varies between one sector and another, because, for example, ICT, the only thing that you possibly need is the concept or the idea, and your laptop, which is the main investment that we keep saying is your tool and everything that you need. But taking it beyond that, now we have incubation centers for IT that you can walk in with your good concept and get full funded and furnished and well assessed ready for the market. But that may not apply to every other industry.
This you speak of this as an alternative to what we know as the institutions such as UON.
Yes. But connecting to that, what we do as a company, for example, is that we work very closely with all the ICT departments of every institution, because we know that they're using a curriculum that possibly is slightly lower than what is ready for the market, and we participate by having forums with the students as well as having sittings with the lecturers and so on, so that they include certain agenda subjects or matters that are required outside. Anybody that would be pushing in, for example, IT or churning out, any institution is churning out is kids or students or people that have finished the college that have not taken care of mobility, for example, which is becoming a need in almost every industry, have not taken care of blockchain, though still new, have not taken care of cloud computing. They're still developing desktop applications, while everything now is on server and enterprise and web. Then they're not generating the kind of breed that will be easily adopted or absorbed by the market, like ourselves and the banks and the likes.
Okay. Arnold, and you can speak freely. Your parents or guardians will not hold this against you. Are you pursuing surveying at the UON out of choice, or that's just what was there?
Yes, it is entirely out of choice.
Okay. I mean, third year, clearly you have your mind made up. What would you, perhaps expect to pursue and gain out of this? Work for a company for a few years, or straight up start with your own company, based on what you've also seen from those who've gone ahead of you?
My plan is to practice upon graduation.
Okay.
Because gaining the professional skills plays a very big part, even in a later choice to pursue entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So professional wise, yes, probably for 5-10 years, gain the skills, the knowledge, organizational skills, the networks also, then probably further venture into entrepreneurship within the same industry.
Are you apprehensive with, you've seen what Liz has had to go through she's finished, but there's no availability of a job. Are you apprehensive that that could be your case as well?
Yes, it's actually quite possible. Yes, but I don't think so. Entrepreneurship should be something that you resort to as a go-to to survive.
After having failed to secure a job.
It's not a fail-safe option. It's something that should be passion-driven one. And ideally, its purpose is to solve a problem in society or bridge a gap, but not entirely money-driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you need the money to start it. But that's a really good point he brings up, and this is your cue now to speak about Panacea Medical Company. Was it out of frustration then you started Panacea because you couldn't get a job as a dentist?
Well, I'd like to say it wasn't.
Yes.
Because during internship, I knew that after my year of internship, I'd technically be unemployed, and of course I had bills to pay and rent, and after you've cleared university, you definitely are not going home to ask your parents to pay
out
your
of the
rent.
nest.
Yes, so that actually necessitated me to think outside the box and actually now identify this gap. What Arnold has said, it's very true. It's purpose driven, and that's why I took my time in identify an area that I'm very passionate about, and this was providing information for the general public and providing solutions for the doctors in terms of effectively providing medical care for the public.
Okay.
So that is where Panacea Limited was conceived. It's meant to create solutions for doctors and to really help provide adequate and proper medical care for the patients.
All right.
So other than that, under Panacea, we have the Panacea Medical Magazine, which is written by consultant doctors in the aim to empower the public with medical information so that they can take care of themselves and clearly lead a healthy lifestyle from a consultant's point of view.
Okay.
So yes, definitely, if I was sure that I was going to be posted, I don't think Panacea would be there. But the fact that I'm not employed really necessitated that I think about the future.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it then a blessing in disguise, in the spirit and the name of entrepreneurship, then, that there's some difficulty in getting jobs that drives people to get into entrepreneurship, in your view?
Yeah, entrepreneurship for sure is, has been stated, comes out of a need. You can only grow in business after providing solutions to a need of the society. If there's a problem that's facing the society, be it environmental, be it in terms of marketing. So if students who focus, innovators, focus innovating on areas that are people are having problems, they're surely going to get it right, and that's where there are some more successes. For starters, we at the University of Nairobi, we have created an environment where we work with the industries to provide an ecosystem for innovation for students, where they can do their startups, and also get the industry to come and mentor them, so that the ones that succeed can be scaled up. And these startups can only succeed if they address particular needs of the society.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
is there need?
Business should be driven by a need.
Yes, definitely. Is there need for a model overhaul or an approach that would change how we train the people that we want to put out into the market? Because it seems increasingly then that the over-reliance on just training to get a job, get a career where you'll work till retirement, that's changing right now. It's different right now for people. So should you or would you recommend, especially from your industry, that you have a model change that prepares people to actually go and be their own bosses from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, if I look at the industries, technology fits in every sector, every industry, because it's fluid. I come in my laptop and you tell me you want to develop a system for this studio, it will be done. The same person, another person walks in and says she wants a hospital management system, it will be done. So if you look at areas or sectors that can easily be scaled up is like the IT, and maybe I'm biased, but it's because that's the area that I know.
Yes.
It fits into every, and if technology is an enabler, as it is known, that means that institutions that are looking at either becoming more efficient, reaching out to more customers, or creating borderless collaboration between institutions, bringing in 24 hours economy, all those technology allows that. So to answer you, it is necessary that we look at what are these key areas that are required in the job market, such that they are embedded as part of the curriculum.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at, I am aware that the Ministry of Education, obviously the various stakeholders are looking at STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and so on. But how much do we practice that? How much do we enable that? It still remains theory. But if you look at STEM in other markets, engineering for kids in America or Asia or those countries, it is practical. The equipments that they are taken through such that they can be able to enjoy right from the time they are kids. I think there is need to look at what is really required outside so that we don't have the majority of what you say, 80% of those that finish the tertiary level go jobless or don't get employment.
And start something entirely different from what they were trained in. Let me engage Arnold in this. And again, you're protected. You can speak freely, even though Bwana John is here. He won't hold it against you. Do you feel the course you're undertaking right now is state-of-the-art and preparing you to be competitive for even the international market?
On the technical level, probably yes.
Probably? Okay.
Yeah. But on the experiential learning bit, that's on the basics of being presentable to the job market.
Okay.
It's a bit lacking. The closest unit we have to shaping that part of you is communication skills, which is done in first year, not taken very seriously. But there's a lot that needs to be done on improving the curriculum for students.
Okay.
Because in the job market or even in entrepreneurship, there are very basic skills necessary in both levels. There's problem solving, there is communication, there is management. And these are not things that can be trained very well, but they can be nurtured.
Right.
I believe if there was a more direct focus on them in the curriculum, we'd definitely improve the output of quality of students we have.
Speaking of the output, then you alluded to the fact that entrepreneurship should not be a last resort, should be out of passion. But it seems that many are getting into that from experience because they need to be doing something, and at least what she's doing is in line with her medical profession. But there are those who go to entirely something different because it makes them money.
Sure.
And maybe they land on a good connection and they decide this is the way to go. If they compare the salary they would make with their job that they've been trained for. So perhaps, is there also a fault or default in the way the course has been put together in terms of being needed even for the current market right now? And that's why people end up finishing after 4 years or 6 years, whatever it might be, 9 years if it's medical, and they actually find that, wait a minute, this is not as valuable to me. I might have gotten the skill, but it's not as valuable to me in terms of what I'd want to pursue. Is there an angle to that?
Yeah, that probably roots down to the choices made before pursuing the actual course.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's something that happens for sure. Many people pursue an undergraduate course and end up excelling in something that they picked up later. Probably if I'm doing QS, maybe after I'll pursue maybe human resource or maybe IT. It could root down to the choices made in selecting the courses.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak to that in terms of how the courses and curriculum are structured?
Yes, the courses we are designed to the needs, but I think where the challenge is, the market changes very fast, and in order to provide the education infrastructure, you need heavy investment, and it's a challenge for universities to keep pace with the changes that the market requires. And I think what we need is the support from the stakeholders, the industry themselves, to work with us, either as in providing infrastructure and spaces for the youth to acquire those skills that we did. They also need to invest in the universities, because actually the people we are training for are them. They need to appreciate that we are training people for them in order to be competitive, because if you don't produce competitive manpower, our industry will also be competitive. It will be a cost to them later on. So I think the industry needs to work with us, and also the government, the policymakers need to create that policy where they get incentives so that they can also come and work with the universities to produce, to bridge that gap that is talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
And now to the entrepreneurs, and you could speak to this from experience. And one of the latest reports on the ease of doing business in Kenya, and it says that we have improved at least by 12 places, standing at 80 as Kenya in comparison to 190 other economies, out of 190 economies, I should say. Do you feel as an entrepreneur this is the actual situation?
Yeah, I would say that comparatively Kenya is better than many other markets. My company is in 25 countries now, and I can assure you that the regulation readiness, easy to do registration, is much better than other institutions. The fact that Kenya remains very competitive, the aggressiveness between the entrepreneurs, the investors, multinational influence, have forced Kenya to become that flexible. And technology becoming the first among others, including mobility, which is the use of telecoms, mobile and various solutions. So I would say that we are not yet there. Would want a company registered online. We have seen that happening in Rwanda, for example. We want all the requirements can be done possibly remotely, you know, having to do those digitally and instead of physically having to move. But the incentive of having gone beyond the registration, that is still far from, you know, from being enjoyed by Kenyans. With devolution happening now, and the need to extend services beyond outside Nairobi, for example, if there is not going to be incentives from the government, most of the people will retain their businesses within Nairobi, and obviously that will affect the population that is outside Nairobi. They'll still continue coming to Nairobi for looking for work. But if the government had created incentives, among those is obviously lowering taxes, you know, in the counties. Anybody would love to go out, because obviously cost of living is lower, rent and everything is lower. And if you look at what we have seen in other cities, Dubai and others, they have centers of excellence. We would have a certain county focusing on technology, another county or another county being empowered to assist in business banking, another county will be industrialization, another county will be fully agriculture. I think those are some of the things that the government needs to look at in order to allow that entrepreneurs who are just starting with the challenges that have been mentioned of credit, among other things, can be able to achieve.
You brought up something, you know, in the name of devolution, and it's brought up as a really good thing that would automatically bring fortune for any entrepreneur. But you mentioned earlier there is the collection of people. Most people come here to the urban centers, the capital cities, to set up their business. But why wouldn't you, for instance, if you haven't gotten a job here in Nairobi, why wouldn't you go to your, you know, home county? There's definite need for your skill there. What makes it difficult for you?
Well, starting from business perspective, as you've just mentioned, most of the businesses and companies are in urban areas. So if I'm to look for work in a private institution, it will definitely be in an urban area. Okay. That being said, we the doctors, let's say, speaking from experience, we're definitely open to going to rural areas and practicing. But the shortcoming is now with the new system, with devolution, we're not getting as many advertisements. Actually, it's even worse for dentists. I can get out of 10 counties, I get only 2 counties that require a dentist. So it's really frustrating. We are willing to work, we're willing to practice, we're willing to exercise what we've learned, but we can't because we don't have the opportunity. So as I mentioned earlier, we still need to fend for ourselves. So what remains is you try get a job in urban areas.
Okay.
So definitely this needs to be looked into and changed. And of course, as all doctors and representatives have said, bringing back health to the national government will maybe help us.
Right.
Yeah.
And Arnold, as a student hoping to get into the job market, what's your projection? Would you want to start, of course, in the big capital and then, you know, probably go to the county level? What has the experience been in terms of what you've seen play out for your colleagues who've gone ahead of you?
What the trend has been ideally is employment within the city, urban areas. There are few who've practiced outside, mostly in public office, like in Machakos County for public projects. But yes, it's never easy.
Okay.
Working outside Nairobi because of one, proximity of resources.
Okay.
Like the travel for timber, for concrete, it's not easy.
But people would say that the money is going to the counties for the development, then you should follow the money there to the county level.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's easier said than done, perhaps?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, what have the people who've gone to the county level, how have they managed to set themselves up in your area of specialty, surveying?
Okay, people at the county level, one, are very, very busy people, because you'll find like in a particular county, there's only like one quantity surveyor. So yes, the demand is intense, regardless of the county, but it also gets very overbearing for that individual. So I don't think it's an issue of the availability of work outside the county. Okay, I'm speaking for my particular industry, but
so you say there actually is a lot of work?
Yeah, for sure. Construction is there's always projects ongoing.
Yes.
So yes.
Okay, so would you project yourself as someone who would set up the business within the county level? Would that be a better business model for you?
A risk analysis would have to be done.
Yes.
On the market, the capital. But yes, if it's a solution to something that works, then yes.
Okay. Yeah. And again, is there a need to perhaps give an approach for the student to have more appeal to go to the county level? I mean, no one will mistake you for wanting to start in a big bad city, Nairobi. You know, you're making it in Nairobi, or people are proud of you. But is there also some form of intervention that institutions can bring in to make it more appealing to go to the county?
Yes, there's a lot that we as training institutions need to do so that we expose our students to globally, not only within the country, to the rural areas. We are in a global environment where the youth can get access to jobs from all corners of the globe. And we need to equip our youth with the knowledge and skills to identify those opportunities and to tap into those opportunities globally. I'm talking about the area where he's talking, the IT area, where there's a lot of opportunities to growth. We need to equip our students with IT skills to do their own jobs. Right now, like the interventions, we are partnering with the Ministry of ICT on a program called Ajira program. This Ajira program, we are training the students what Bitangi them like calling the Internet of Things. So with the Internet of Things, now you can be able to picture globally where do I get jobs, where can I support? Because if you don't get jobs here, it does not necessarily mean you are shut out. The globe, there's a huge potential if you can be able to exercise your skills across the globe. So that's one of the things that we are doing. We want to open up the minds of our youth to be outward looking and be globally looking. They need mentorship from people who have succeeded, like my brother here, to come and inspire them and prepare them to survive in the market, in the industry.
Right.
And we can only do this if we give them the opportunity, and also if they agree to come and work in that, so that we build that synergy to equip our youth with the skills and mentor them and change the mindset that after university, I look for employment.
Right. In the name of entrepreneurship, we look at it as a perception is start home, build home, and build our environment first.
Yes.
And it's true. Yes. Prepare the student for the international market.
Yes.
Give them, the best skill set that there is available for the international market. Make them competitive.
Yes.
But as an entrepreneur, and you've mentioned something about Endeavor International, which is a continental body that acknowledges the best entrepreneurs within the continent. Are we at risk of losing our skill set? Perhaps Arnold gets a good opportunity to go to Rwanda or somewhere else. And would that be necessarily a loss for the entrepreneurship market or department in Kenya, or industry in Kenya?
Okay. Well, let me zero into the technology side.
Yes.
Yeah. Besides Zimbabwe, Kenya is second in terms of export of IT skills.
Okay.
And Zimbabwe basically, not the current generation, because Zimbabwe has had that slow economy for the last possibly 15 years, or about 20 years. But before that, when the economy was good, they were not affected by what they call cyclic unemployment, which is a terminology derived from an economy going down.
Yes.
If you go into Uganda today, go to Tanzania, go to Rwanda, and walk into every well-performing institution, you're likely to get the head of IT being a Kenyan. You're likely to get the technical person being a Kenyan. If you go to the SADC countries, the Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Malawi, you're most likely to get 70% of those guys, those positions held by Zimbabweans. So I will not say it's a loss making, because you're able to go out there and what
someone would say you're building other entrepreneurs outside our economy.
Yes, but the good thing is technology unfortunately doesn't have color.
Yes.
Technology, if I walk into any country and I say I can bring efficiency, I can reduce cost, they will sign that contract immediately.
Okay.
So I think it's something, and I would say that ultimately out of that, being able to export skills is what has made what Kenya is. Because if you continue eating your mom's food, then you end up thinking that she's the best until you go outside there. I think what has happened is that Kenya has benefited largely or greatly through ability to channel, because by me being able to roll out a project in that country, and I'm using Kenyans because for obvious reasons that I may not be able to get the equivalent of skills from that country, it is channeling and creating the jobs that we are talking about.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's creating employment. But then again, forgive my narrow-minded approach to this, and to the medical fraternity, we've lost a lot to international market, where many doctors decide, hey, let me go practice my skill elsewhere because there's no availability here. In your view, from the medical fraternity, is that a loss for what could be provided here, medical entrepreneurs, and what could benefit Kenyan lives?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Because we're actually far from even achieving the WHO recommendation of doctor-patient ratios. So definitely, the more we lose practitioners to working outside Kenya, it's actually a loss as a country. And it's also a loss to the economy, because health is a very big aspect of a developing economy.
Yes.
So definitely, in terms of the health system, we need to be more keen on ensuring that we have doctors in the community level. This will help achieve better primary health care. And with this, of course, the greater good of universal health care. Right. Other than that, having these doctors going to specialize and bringing their specialty in Kenya, this will only mean that our patients, the population, get more specialized care. So that means we'll stop health tourism to India for someone to get a surgery, and this will be available in Kenya locally more cheaply. So definitely, I don't think that is beneficial to the economy, to the country, for us to be losing doctors and medical personnel to other countries.
In your view, you've had colleagues who've made it to international markets, they've left Kenya and gone to practice their skill. Do you feel it's a loss? Nothing will stop you from, if you got an opportunity elsewhere, nothing will stop you from going, or is there?
Probably a passport, but
yes.
But yeah, actually in my profession, or generally in the built environment professions, there are actually a good percentage that have practiced outside the country, in East Africa, in South, even in Europe. And loss or gain, not entirely sure, because even their exit could also be making room for
now those who are upcoming like
for
you.
us. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, we're also losing a lot of talent. Yeah.
Right.
If we had that here, probably mentoring and training us, it would better us first before bettering the others.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the last stretch of our conversation, but I'd want to ask you in terms of loss, but in a different aspect. You've set up Panacea Medical Company, and it's supposed to help give some medical solutions. And you've talked of the magazine. And someone says you are a dentist by training. And your industry also changes a lot, given the technology that is coming in a new practice. Then are we losing a dentist by having you focus on your Panacea Medical Company?
Definitely not. I'd like to say first and foremost, I'm a dentist.
Yes.
And as they explained, from the knowledge, from the skills I gained from school, this is what actually empowered me to provide a good product for the public, a good solution. So yes, I love dentistry, I love practicing, so I'll definitely practice, but also create time for Panacea, which is a passion of mine.
Right.
Yeah.
Perhaps Panacea, and we hope it does, pick up very well, and you won't be practicing dentistry on a daily basis, and then after some years then you'd consider coming back. Wouldn't that be like needing to do a refresher course?
Not really. In the medical field,
I mean, nothing changes about our teeth, but maybe best practice in solutions.
Well, actually, we have systems in place to prevent that.
Okay.
In the board, before renewing your registration, you're actually required to attend a number of continuous progressive development courses. So what basically this is you go, you attend forums and lectures where you're taught again, you're reminded the latest treatment options, what we're now doing, the changes in the system, let's say even the materials you're meant to use. So by continually attending these courses, then definitely you will not fall back.
Okay.
And also in most of our institutions, they always open a leeway where you feel if you want to do a refresher, you can always talk to your dean, see if they can accept you to just watch and refresh yourself, which I think is very beneficial in terms, as you said, if I go away for 10 years, I'll definitely need to fine-tune my hand skills in terms of dental treatment.
Right. Would you see this as a threat in terms of the trend where people don't find a job, might start a business in line with what they're doing or what they're trained for, and then don't end up practicing the training that they acquired from your institution?
No, it's not a threat, because what we do is we want people to be multi-skilled. We are training people to be multi-skilled because we want them to be empowered, not only to create opportunities for themselves, but also to create opportunities for others. That's the graduate of today that is multi-talented, because the global world today is very competitive, and you do not rely on a particular trade or a particular skill to compete in the market. You need much skills in order to survive. Even you here.
Well, specialization is
specialization is one.
It's
a
strength.
It's a strength. It's a strength. But you need other skills to be above your peers. Because
let me ask about that, because I wanted to direct it at Arnold and see if he probably wants to pursue another career or training rather, so that it can enrich in his current course right now, if you have the resource, that is. And that is a trend as well, as you say, someone taking up a course just to have an edge, but not necessarily out of passion. Isn't that the case?
For you to be successful in your career, you must have passion to succeed.
Yes, but there is a trend where people are just taking up masters,
yes.
so either to gain a promotion in the industry or just to be secure and safe. If,
yes,
for instance, they see their first degree.
Yes, to be competitive.
You want to use the word competitive.
Competitive, yes.
But is that trend for you a concern?
I think, particularly the IT side, and I believe also supposed to be in other sectors, the current generation, yes, who are the millennial, are adaptive in nature. And we, as a company, for example, have taken that as a policy, that somebody can come, even in IT, there is networking, there is hardware, there is engineering, there is security, there is software development. There are certain areas that somebody may have skill. But we give flexibility in adapting based on the ability to adopt. And I believe that's what he's saying. It's not that they're just changing, they are becoming adaptive. And that is their nature in the current millennium. And
in the market.
Yes. For them, that's why you can see somebody coming in. And I think we have had even quite a number of interesting cases in the industry where CEOs of certain industry started as something else but changed. And same case with some of the guys that have changed the world, you know. They may have started something because it was necessary to do, but along the way they changed. So I think it is acceptable to change, because whatever you have learned in one line somehow became the foundation of whatever else you're going to learn.
To build up to.
Yes, mathematics, English still become usable.
Yes.
In whatever sector that you're going to be. Yes.
Right.
So I think institutions need to not necessarily demonize the need to have 3 years experience, and I mean those are just starting. And it's unfortunate that in that process, you're literally going to hire somebody that is already hired by another employer. I mean, or you're hiring somebody who's already having a job. And we have seen even that distort even the salaries, grades, and so on, such that I'm trying to keep an employee who you are interested in, and even the employees use that. They use that as a bargaining to get their salary increased in the same institution, or else they jump out. Right. And remember, they are not necessarily passionate. They are not, it's not me who's defining, the way the millennium are defined, they're not loyal. It's not like our parents and, whereby one person will work for an institution for 20 years, 30 years, and until they retire. No, they'll jump in at the least opportunity that comes.
I don't want to refer to you as a millennial, Arnold, but you're in the age group. Would you term this as accurate? Your age group is not loyal, the millennials. And does this pose a threat to the job market and entrepreneurship hopes and prospects for the nation?
It's okay. Is it true? Not sure. But it's a fast-paced generation, that's for sure.
Fast-paced.
Yeah. So flexibility is very necessary, not just for survival, but even success. So should I call it loyalty or flexibility?
Good defense to the millennials there, Arnold. So let's get to the closing remarks here. And this is your last word from your perspective and standpoint, you from the institutions. And there's the upsurge of TVET institutions. Would you say this is because there's a lack of provision of the required skills for people to actually start themselves up as their own bosses, not necessarily get a job, but to start up as craftsmen in different fields?
That could be a contributor, but I wouldn't like to blame it entirely on the institutions. We need to look at it from a very global and open-minded perspective.
Right.
there are various, as was said, I saw in that script that was from Eldoret, that there are so many policies we have put into place that can assist the youth to upgrade their skills and also to achieve quality educations by the government, giving capital. But all this, I think they are good policies, but the implementations, we need to build the synergy between the various players so that we focus on those youth, so that the objectives of those policies are achieved. Let me give you, for example, the youth fund. The way it is administered. The youth fund is given to the youth. If Arnold today get out of the university and they want to get access to the youth fund or any capital, that's one of the constraining problem that they experience. But I think now with the experience that we have, even with the administration, we need to see with the youth, there are different sets of youth. There's this type of youth from the university, and the other youth that is different. This one thinks in a different way. He thinks globally. The other one thinks locally, and his focus is Juakali, okay? Yes. Set up a Juakali, motorcycle, and this other thing. But this one wants to do something big, address people's problems. Right. So I think we need, as a government, and also as the institutions that support the youth, to focus on the needs of the youth and support their growth. I would think of a situation where the government would come up with a policy to say we allocate this particular funds to universities of the youth fund. All right. And then now it can, because the youth are doing university.
Yes. Sorry to rush you. Out of time now. You know, millennials, we're pacey. Liz, your final comments in terms of what you would want to improve your prospects as an entrepreneur.
In terms of entrepreneurship, of course, having support from bigger organizations that are actually doing what we're doing would go a great way. Other than that, mentorship in terms of people who are starting up or people who are thinking about venturing into entrepreneurship, that goes a very long way, because through mentorship you're able to create your social networks, and with good social capital you can actually achieve a lot. So definitely I'd encourage the youth, if you're thinking of venturing into, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, then go for it. Make sure you have a good business plan, be passionate about it, and don't be afraid.
All right. All the best to you with Panacea Medical Company, and a challenge to you to be a mentor, because you've made it in the entrepreneurship world. There's a challenge to you. What else would you want to be implemented?
You just touched one of the key pillars of Endeavor. Yes. I didn't cover that. Endeavor is an international body that deals with entrepreneurs that have made it in their life and are creating positive impact on people. They set up an institution. The institution was registered in Kenya last year, and we had 2 before. Then I was the third. And the 3 areas they look at is impactful entrepreneurship. Okay. What is this that you're doing? What is the level of impact in terms of number of employees, in terms of reaching, in terms of creating efficiency and problem solving? The second pillar is mentoring. Okay. They drill down on how much time of your and resources are you spending on mentoring. Okay. And because we are joining a group that has been there for the last possibly 50 years, that have been doing that, and that's why it is reaching out to us.
The third one, in conclusion, sorry to rush you.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that I learned, which is connected with this, when I was doing my Harvard, is something that they kept insisting. That Winston Churchill said that the pessimists see a difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimists see the opportunity in every difficulty. I think that's the last message that I would like to leave to the youth.
Finally, to what I term the youth, Arnold, there you represent the millennials, and you say it's flexibility, not being disloyal. Your last words in terms of your hopes to enable you become an entrepreneur. Finally,
an entrepreneurship journey is a rough journey. I've seen it wear down a lot of characters. And yeah, just have in mind that you're looking to solve a problem and not make money. If you're problem solving, then kudos to you.
All right.
All the best, yeah.
We'll see if you'll stand to that, not just follow the money. In a few years, we'll be with you here, I believe, and we'll be following you. Thank you very much, Arnold Anampio. All the best as you pursue your quantity surveying course at the University of Nairobi. Thank you, Paul Bogwa from Eclectics International in your company for IT solutions. All the best in that. And as you set up Panacea Medical International, medical company, Liz Bwibo, all the best with that and keep going. And thank you as well, Bona John Orindi, the Director of Corporate Affairs. You've really spoken well for the institution there. You've done your job, you've earned your salary. Thank you for your time. Lady and gentlemen, thank you for your time on NTV Today. We end the conversation here, but it continues online. We'll be sharing as well this conversation on our YouTube page. And right now I take a break. We'll be back with the 1 o'clock news.
This week on Lit 360.
Original Chronics. You're watching Lit 360 East.
In a Rastaman party. Pull up! Zambo!
Swag straight to the ceiling. Yeah, Matarongani Z.
Okay. Hi, what's up, y'all? It's your man Horace Brown, and you're watching Lit 360.
She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go. Get out. Everybody out. What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She, ikoni wangi leo.
This is the headquarters of wit in Africa.
I love this guy.
The hub where humor meets sense.
Wewe unatumiaga tu hiyo lines, unalike na mimi nakulike.
So
kwa Mrs. Kingori.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. Kingo. an expert in the best medicine.
Listening to his solution if you crossed him in church.
Nikienda kanisa mtu alitukane, hakuna kugoja. Huko tuko kanisa huko.
Surely. Laughter.
Good afternoon, welcome to NTV News at 1, and we will be starting our news update from South End Mall along Langata Road, and the National Environment Authority has brought down or is in the process of bringing down this particular mall because it is on riparian land and it is actually standing on Mutweni Ngong River along Langata Road, and Silas Apollo has been following this, gave us an update earlier and will be giving us an update now. Silas, any reaction you're getting from your end?
Yes, Mark, it's been quite a busy day today, of course, as officers from the National Environmental Authority are bringing down this mall, which they say has been on riparian land, affecting the flow of the river of Nairobi. Of course, there's also been earlier concerns that because of this building and because of this mall, there's been a lot of flooding in Nairobi, in South Sea and Nairobi West areas, and so that is why one of the reasons why the mall is being brought down today. We've managed to speak to some of the officials of NEMA who are telling us that, of course, a notice had been given, a 3-month notice had been given to the owners of this building to bring it down or to vacate it so that it can be brought down. Of course, it's a legal battle that began since, it's been there since 2016, if you can remember, during the tenure of Nairobi Governor Evans Kideru, who said that the building was put up illegally and on riparian land. And of course, there's been back and forth they've been back and forth in courts trying to get court injunctions or trying to get court orders so that they be bringing back the building down. But that has not been successful until today. So it's quite a busy day, and of course quite a disappointing day to the tenants who've been forced to bring out their wares. Of course, some saying that they've also not been given a notice on whether they should have vacated the building or not. We spoke to some earlier. Of course, they were saying it's quite a frustrating day for them. Some crying foul, they don't know where to go, what else they need to do, and who they need to talk to. We also managed to speak to a brother of the owner of the building, who says that according to them, all the regulations and all the laws were followed. They got approvals for NEMA, they got approvals from Warma, they also got approval from the county government so that they can be able to build this building. And so it's quite a surprise that right now they're being told that they've not been able to follow the due process before coming up with the building. And of course, NEMA is insistent that this is one of the 4,000 buildings that they're targeting. Of course, recently there was the one in Kileleshwa, the Java Kileleshwa and the Shell, the Vivo building in Kileleshwa that was brought down. Of course, part of the ongoing campaign to reclaim the riparian lands, which is part of the Nairobi Regeneration Plan, which part of the plan is also to claim Nairobi River.
And this campaign seems to be continuing in the week because there are many buildings that have been earmarked for the demolitions, and this is a story we'll be following up on. On to a sad story, many sending in their messages of condolence. The 2015 World 400 meters hurdles champion Nicholas Bett died early this morning in a road accident in Lesos, Nandi County. According to reports, Bett's car hit a bump, veered off the road and rolled several times.
400 meters hurdles world champion Nicholas Bett was the first athlete to walk into the jubilant crowd ready to receive Team Kenya from Asaba, Nigeria around 9 p.m. Monday night. This was Bett's final walk in the limelight.
Final of the men's 400-meter hurdle.
Bett stormed into the global stardom in August 2015 when he stunned the athletics world by winning the world title in the men's 400 meters hurdles at the Bird's Nest in Beijing, China. His death has robbed Kenya of the sprinter following an early morning accident in Nandi County. The local and global athletics fraternity is in mourning with tweets flowing. Kenyans, among them President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto, also took to social media to pass their messages of condolences.
Daudi Nzomo, the man caught on camera assaulting his wife Winifred Mwende, has been sentenced to 12 years. Nzomo will serve 10 years in prison and the remaining 2 on probation. Delivering the judgment, Makueni Senior Principal Magistrate James Mwaniki said Nzomo's criminal record reflected a history of violence. Nzomo had pleaded for leniency, saying his parents and siblings depended on him. Mwende is currently recuperating at Nairobi Women's Hospital. Last week, a video of Nzomo assaulting his wife went viral on social media, eliciting mixed reactions. Chief Justice David Maraga has urged the Office of the Ombudsman to promote and protect interests of the ordinary people who file complaints at the Commission. Maraga said this while swearing in former Meru Woman Representative Florence Kajuju as a chair of the Commission. 2 other commissioners who were sworn in are Washington Opio Sati and former Registrar of Political Parties Lucy Ndongo. Kajuju has promised to improve service delivery and to deal with the backlog of cases filed by the public.
We can have move. I want to assure all the Kenyans that we mind about.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We undertake to ensure that issues of maladministration, issues of ineptitude, issues of bad governance within the government are dealt with as per the Commission.
Wish you all the best and hope that wananchi will continue getting services that they require. There are quite a number of complaints leveled against government officials in various ministries, various departments, and the whole purpose of this commission is for you to address those issues so that mwananchi is able to get services from the people he or she has employed.
To the medical fraternity now, an Embu Level 5 hospital is slowly grinding to a halt due to an acute shortage of nurses. A visit by the County Assembly Health Committee has revealed the patients have to wait for long hours without receiving any medical attention.
The long queues witnessed here perhaps depicts the slow speed of services at the Embu Level 5 hospital. A trip by the members of the County Assembly has revealed that the hospital is grappling with the growing number of patients with very few health personnel to attend to them.
We've been able to interact with the nurses, we have been able to interact with the clinical officers, we've been able to interact with the doctors. And the truth is actually we require more personnel. More personnel is required in this hospital, and we are going to do what is very possible as a committee member to regulate this matter so that this matter can be owned by the entire house, so that at least we can be able to walk the journey together.
The stretched workforce means most of the essential services are not delivered on time, and there is a reason.
On average, if the 3 CEOs by 12 they had managed to see around an average of 80, yet we have expecting about 800 patients. That can assure you by 6 today we will only have managed to see like 200 patients. What about the other 600?
According to the CEO, Dr. Moses Njue, the hospital has way below the number of nurses required for a referral hospital.
Like in ICU, 1 patient requires 2 nurses, or at least 1 nurse per patient at every time.
Most of the trained nurses from the area opt for employment in the private sector.
The challenge is actually even nurses is the most challenge, and the challenge is you cannot employ nurses at a salary of 17,000 on contract when private are giving 30. And so we are saying, because the issues of health does not wait, we are saying the service board, let them renegotiate with the nurses they're engaging on contract and scale up their salary to at least 25 to 30,000.
The hospital serves patients from Embu, Machakos, Kitui, Tharaka Nithi and Kirinyaga counties. Winnie Maganga, NTV.
To Turkana now, where the British oil company Tullow Oil will resume its oil and gas development activities. A statement from the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining reveals that the government has reached an agreement with the company, and such includes addressing the grievances that stalled the transportation of the commodity to the coast. Some of the issues that the government has set sights on are about the insecurity that irked locals, pushing them to the brink of hampering the execution of the project. The statement from the Cabinet Secretary John Musonik's office indicates that there is a plan to foster coexistence between the locals and the company. Area leaders, Turkana professionals and the business community also held a two-day meeting in Lokichar to discuss the way forward. Tullow Oil withdrew from transporting 2,000 barrels of crude oil to the coast, citing harshness by the local community. A group of leaders from Mount Kenya have assured Deputy President William Ruto of their political support in 2022 when the Deputy President is expected to contest for the presidency. The leaders were speaking in the county of Uasin Gishu. Lois Wangoi filed this report.
The leaders from central Kenya spoke to assure the deputy president that they were behind him amidst reports of divisions in the Jubilee Party occasioned by the handshake between President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Mimi nilikuwa hapo saa ile president na deputy president walikaa chini wakaungana na wakasema watafanya kazi pamoja. Sisi tunangojea tu wakati ambao utafika hiyo maneno itekelezwe vile iliongewa na hakuna wasiwasi.
Na Wakikuyu na Wakalenjin walianza safari 2013, safari hiyo inaendelea.
The conversation coming just a day after the deputy president spoke to allay fears that he was at odds with the head of state. The central leaders here agree, while noting their focus come 2022 is on the deputy president's seat.
Ile siasa iko pale saa hii ni siasa kidogo tu, atuulizani mambo ya number 1 kwa sababu tunajua mko na Uhuru Kenyatta hapa kwa hapa, mnaunga yeye mkono pamoja na William Ruto. Kwa hivyo saa hii shida yetu kule si ati number 1 atakuwa nani 2022. Shida yetu kule, na ndio mnaweza labda saa nyingine kuwa mnai mistake kwa siasa. Shida yetu kule, ile siasa iko kule ni siasa ya kutafuta number 2. Kwa sababu tunaamini kama number 1 anatoka namba pande hii, number 2 mpaka atoka pande gani? Pande ile.
Kalenjin leaders present steered clear of 2022 politics, open to deal with the politics of the Mao.
Na niambia waziri, ukisidi sana sisi tutapeleka watu sisi wenyewe kama viongozi kwa ile mashamba ya majani chai, alafu uone kwenye utapeleka wazuru wa majani chai pia kama utapeleka kwako ama utapeleka kwenu.
The leaders were speaking during the burial ceremony of Mama Salina Jematia Lelei, mother to Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandago. Lois Wangoi, NTV Eldoret.
A 12-year-old girl and a 25-year-old woman were sexually assaulted by armed robbers Tuesday night in the border town of Namanga, Kajiado County. The armed men allegedly raided the town, broke into houses, and unleashed a night of terror.
A gang of 3 men reportedly broke into several houses Tuesday night in Namanga, defiled a minor and raped a woman in one of the homes.
Kanambia kwa sababu hauna pesa, vua nguo. Mimi sikutaka kuvua nguo, akanivua mwenyewe. Ndo akanibaka.
Kaingia turu akaniuliza mzee iko, nikamwambia mzee iko, akaanza kunigonga na tochao iko naye. Akinigonga akaanza kuingia nyumba yote, akatafuta kitu. Saa hiyo mimi akiongea yote ananigonga tu, akiongea yote ananigonga tu. Mimi akimwambia wacheni na mimi tokeni kwa nyumba yangu, mimi akienda kuangalia watoto ananigonga tu. Akaona akapata pesa ndani 11,500, akaniwa 11,500 akapata ndani, akaniwacha.
The thugs are also said to have stolen several phones and other valuables from this home. Confirming the incident, Area OCPD James Kimani said 2 houses were broken into. The residents are blaming police on laxity.
Watu ambao wamelalia kazi ya usalama inakuwa ni kwa serikali.
na lazima kuna watu wamelalia ndio hii watu wakaendelea. Tukisema hivyo, nasema hivyo kwa sababu hofu imezidi katika Namanga na kuongezeka kwa population na ujenzi na kupanuka kwa town huwa inataka juhudi nyingi za kuweka usalama.
Hapa area hakuna security, hata kama nini mizi akikukujia wewe akiendea polisi pia hakuna kitu anafuata anakuletea. Mimi hata sio leo tu, siku nyingine pia mizi ameniingia tu hivyo saa 1 usiku. Hiyo saa 1 akaenda polisini mpaka saa hajaniletea, mpaka hata hiyo polisi amenitukana akaniambia, we nyinyi wa Somalia na wetsa weka tu mtu kitu toka na hapa, hakuna kitu mtu amekufanya.
The residents also blamed the porous border as one of the key issues that has led to insecurity in the town.
Pathetic to say the least. Hopefully this report will bring to book those responsible. To some achievements on the global scale, NASA is poised to launch a $1.5 billion spacecraft on a brutally hot journey toward the sun, offering scientists the closest ever view of our strange and mysterious star. After the Parker Solar Probe blasts off from Cape Canaveral, Florida on August 11th, it will become the first spacecraft ever to fly through the sun's scorching atmosphere known as the corona.
Let's go! Get out! Everybody out! What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She. Ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go! Get out! Everybody out! What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She. Ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go! Get out! Everybody out! What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She. Ikoni wangi leo. The party ended at 4 a.m. Let's go! Get out! Everybody out! What are you still doing in my house? What are you losers doing here?
Unajua jana nilikunywa na miwa sikunywi.
What do we have here? Abuda Kambali. Petra bounce. She. Ikoni wangi leo. The party ended
in the right dosage for the whole country. The Wicked Edition, every Friday from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV. This is the headquarters of wit in Africa.
I love this guy.
The hub where humor meets sense.
Unatumiaga tu your lines, unalike na mimi nakulike.
So
kwa Mrs. Kingori.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. Kingori, an expert in the
public service vehicles in the Central Business District with the name of decongesting the city. They claim the county government has not offered designated places to park the vehicles. Only 2 matatu per sacco and per route are supposed to pick and drop passengers within 5 minutes, it said. Matatu operators feel that the directive is harsh and rash, and the operators have denied that they are to blame for the city's congestion. No collective action has been taken by the matatu sector, but cases of resistance have been witnessed in various streets in the CBD. The vehicles found flouting the regulations have been impounded and operators arrested.
Sako yetu tuko na Nissan 400 na hizi basi kubwa ni 100 zaidi, si ndio? 100. Kwa hivyo zikiwa 100, tukiambiwa ati kila stage ingiaga gari 2 after 5 minutes, hiyo ni kitu haiwezi.
Back to the international scene, a German couple has been condemned to 12 years imprisonment after they were found guilty of defiling and selling their son for sex on an online platform. Meanwhile, firefighters in California are still battling a catastrophic blaze that broke out 2 weeks ago, making history as the largest wildfire in California. Portugal and Spain are also handling wildfires due to the soaring temperatures.
Freiburg State
Medicine. Listening to his solution if you crossed him in church.
Nikienda kanisa mtu alitukane, hakuna kungoja huko tuko kanisa huko.
Surely.
Laughter served in the right dosage for the whole country. The Wicked Edition every Friday from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV. This is the headquarters of wit in Africa.
I love this guy.
The hub where humor meets sense.
Unatumia tu your lines, like, na mimi nakulike.
So
for Mrs. Kingori.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. Kingori, an expert in the best medicine.
Listening to his solution if you crossed him in church.
Nikienda kanisa mtu alitukane, hakuna kungoja huko tuko kanisa huko.
Surely.
Laughter served in the right dosage for the whole country. The Wicked Edition every Friday from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV. This is the headquarters of wit in Africa.
I love this guy.
The hub where humor meets sense.
Unatumia tu your lines, like, na mimi nakulike.
So
for Mrs. Kingori.
The Wicked Edition with Dr. Kingori, an expert in the best medicine.
Listening to his solution if you crossed him in church.
Nikienda kanisa mtu alitukane, hakuna kungoja huko tuko kanisa huko.
Surely.
Laughter served in the right dosage for the whole country. The Wicked Edition every Friday from 7:30 p.m. only on NTV.
Kumbe material ya sofa set inaweza shona suti mzuri hivyo.
Ndio venye ulikula kula school fees.
Mimi nikidate dem msura mbaya huwa si mind. Najua ni vile hajamaliza kuwebo.
Mtu alichukua soli ya sharpshooter akashonelea ngozi ya Timberland. Sasa sharpshooter na Timberland utaita aje? Shooterland.
Ulimfanyia nini? Best yangu alimshika na nyuma nikatafuna pilipili nikamlamba macho.
Kuna watu wenye matatu zao wamechora cross. Tuko nianzia kwa mlango ya driver, kuingia ya abiria wa mwisho.
Na unafili ni moment yako. Sema ona hii mtoto.
Kumbe material ya sofa set inaweza shona suti mzuri hivyo.
Ndio venye ulikula kula school fees. Mimi nikidate dem msura mbaya huwa si mind. Najua ni vile hajamaliza kuwebo.
Mtu alichukua soli ya sharpshooter akashonelea ngozi ya Timberland. Sasa sharpshooter na Timberland utaita aje? Shooterland.
Ulimfanyia nini? Best yangu alimshika na nyuma nikatafuna pilipili nikamlamba macho.
Kuna watu wenye matatu zao wamechora cross. Tuko nianzia kwa mlango ya driver, kuingia ya abiria wa mwisho.
Na unafili ni moment yako. Sema ona hii mtoto.
Kumbe material ya sofa set inaweza shona suti mzuri hivyo.
Ndio venye ulikula kula school fees. Mimi nikidate dem msura mbaya huwa si mind. Najua ni vile hajamaliza
Diana, but she also mentions that she thinks Usain Bolt is undergoing midlife crisis for pursuing a career in football? I don't think so. I mean, it happens with the greats. They're looking for a challenge, such as Michael Jordan going into baseball and then back into basketball. Well, I hope he'll be doing his best in the football world. He can run, so let's just see if he will be one of those strikers in the football world. All the best to Usain Bolt. And that's it for NTV Today. And Jane Guerry, if you could see her, she's waving me down from behind the camera. She wants me to get out, so I will go out. Thank you for watching. I'll be back at 4.
Nite Salim Swale na kusalimu kwa ufahari mkubwa tokea papa hapa kwa